What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Timeless Movie Podcast, episode number 110. My name is Victor Vasquez. Thanks so much for joining me on another episode where we journey into talking about a new movie that we got to check out in theaters or in streaming. I'll give you my recommendations, a pros and cons type of a list, and at the end of the podcast, I'll even let you know whether I consider that movie timeless. Is it something that I would want to rewatch in the future or add to my movie collection? I'm pretty excited for this episode because, you guessed it, every fifth episode, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Omar Vasquez joining me. Omar, how's it going, man?
Going really good.
Yeah, man?
You know why?
Why, man?
Because this is the first appearance in 2025.
That's right. That's right, man.
First of many.
Yeah. I mean, if we time it really well, Mr. Om, with how many movies are coming out in 2025, we could be seeing and hearing you every month.
It may be, but one thing for sure I do know, you will only see me every 5 episodes. So I'll see you in episode 115.
I hope you feel proud about that, you know?
I do. I feel really good about this. I'm happy we thought about it. We both thought about doing it every 5.
I don't think we both agreed to that idea.
Oh, no?
No. Either way, Mr. O, we're here to talk about episode 110.
All right.
But before we do that, a little housekeeping. Episode 109 is available on all platforms, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you guys listen to it. Make sure to go check it out. It is about Wolfman. I kept saying in the episode, The Wolfman. It's not called The Wolfman. It's Wolfman by Universal Pictures. Go check it out. I gave you my thoughts on what I thought about this retelling of a classic horror movie. So go check it out. Let me know in the comments and the reviews whether you enjoyed that episode as well. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. Episode 110. Omar Vasquez is here with me, my brother. We are going to be talking about the new film by Steven Soderbergh, which is called Presence. Me and Omar saw a couple of trailers of it.
Last year,
yeah. We started seeing it kind of closer to the end of 2024. And as soon as I saw it again, I'm exploring more horror. I'm enjoying more of those types of movies. So as soon as I saw one where it had like the trailer set you up as like almost like you're the ghost and you're seeing this family, I was like, okay, this is creative. This is what I want to see.
The trailer didn't say that.
Yeah.
They didn't tell you like, oh, this is the point of view of a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like you kind of figured it out.
Yep, exactly. So that's what got me really hooked onto it. So we're going to be talking about our non-spoiler thoughts first. We'll kind of give you a general sense as to what Omar and I thought about the movie, and then we'll recommend whether you guys should check it out in theaters or maybe wait for streaming or maybe even skip it. So, Mr. Om, let's go ahead and dive in. I'll start. I don't know your thoughts. You don't know my thoughts. So let's see if we maybe have some differences here, but
let's see we fight.
Exactly. Exactly. Jumping right in, Mr. Om. Non-spoiler thoughts. After I left Presence, we watched it together. I thought that this movie was really good. I enjoyed it. I had a fun time. And if there's one thing that I walk away from this experience is that I wish more movies were outside the box like this.
Yeah.
I wish more movies thought of these kind of ideas where, like I mentioned before, the entire point of view is from a ghost. The audience is basically the ghost. And it's just a different way to tell a story. Like, I know that every story is going to be very similar from like, okay, things that you've seen or witnessed, especially in horror. Like, it's always something kind of very, similar in that essence. But I really wish that more movies would be able to explore these types of ways of telling a story, whether it's like maybe no dialogue or maybe it's, using a different element. In this case, they're using the camera to basically go through the days and lives of a family that's kind of being divided in a way. And so I really like that. I think that's why I'm rating it so high. I think is that like, oh yeah, like it's just so unique, so different. And just how it's telling the story where it's almost like a mystery in a way. Like you're also as an audience member trying to figure out who the heck is this ghost? Like what the heck is going on with this family? So overall, I enjoyed it. I thought the characters were interesting. I enjoyed like what was occurring like in their lives. And that I felt like it also added to the emotion of the movie. Because I feel like the movie's, this is really why I want your thoughts, Omar. I didn't think the movie was scary. The trailer maybe makes it look like if it's a scary movie. And even the name, like Presence, and like how they set it up, the tone of it, I thought it was more of a sad story. It's more of like a...
And even the drama.
Yeah, there you go. Like that's a great way to describe it. So, Mr. Om, you jumped in right there. That's all I had about this movie. I enjoyed it. I liked it. What are your thoughts about it?
I agree. Even just looking it up like on Google, it classifies it as a horror psychological thriller. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't consider it either of the two.
I agree.
I think maybe that could be marketing. Like they knew more people would watch it if it looked like a horror movie,
Mm-hmm.
and it worked because I wanted to watch it, and
Yep.
but the story kept me engaged. Actually, I was gonna say a pro. I guess we can
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah. Well, we can wait. Like any other details different than like how I described it like that? Did you also think like anything in regards to like how emotional it was like that? More of like a sad story? Do you paint it in that way if you were to describe it to somebody? Like, hey, this is more like a sad drama.
And I would also describe it as very realistic. It was
Yeah.
one of the. It's very sometimes like the family dynamic in movies is so like
Exaggerated or like something just seems like that's you wouldn't see that kind of a conversation between a mom and a
yeah,
son.
it's almost become like a trope.
Mm-hmm.
And this one had a pretty realistic interpretation of a family,
Yeah.
a representation of a family, even like down to like high school kids. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that was realistic too.
Yeah.
I like that about it.
Nice. Well, let's dive into a little bit of the story for folks that are maybe like on the fence or if you're curious about this movie. I'll go through a very simple synopsis to not spoil what's going on in the movie. But as a general kind of sense of the plot, this story is revolving around the perspective of a ghost. You immediately, the first shot, and I think this kind of shows up in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, but the first shot is like you are in a bedroom looking out of a window. And that's basically what you're experiencing. You're just going through room by room, and you're seeing characters have conversations, and you're basically seeing this new family come into this house where the ghost is. And you're just going up the stairs to see the 2 floors. And so all that is just kind of occurring as you're going through this specific film. Again, the house starts off empty. Then you start to notice this family kind of live in there. You have Chloe, then you have Tyler, who are the kids. And you just kind of experience what they're going through at that specific moment in their lives. Like some are having a lot of success in high school. Some have just lost a friend. Some people are doing some very shady stuff for work. And so all this different stuff is occurring and the ghost is just experiencing all of them. And there's one character that can notice them, and that's Chloe, who's the daughter in this family. And you know, as you start to kind of see the story unravel, you start to notice a little bit more about what's dividing this family, what kind of emotional things are occurring that kind of starts trying to separate them in a way. But all that to say is that you're basically just experiencing, like how Omar mentioned, a very realistic situation where that maybe some families will experience, you know, things that are occurring in high school, pranks that might occur, you know, just things that are going on in work. And you just see that real emotion. And that's kind of what you're witnessing as you're watching this movie, again, from the perspective of a ghost. And so that's all I'm going to set it up as. I'm not going to go into too much detail, again, because there's a lot of different types of moments that I would want you guys to at least experience. So then kind of jumping off of this point, Mr. Rome, would you recommend people watch Presence? Would you maybe have them set their expectations differently? Or would you kind of say like, hey, this one's more of like you can wait for streaming to check this one out? Or maybe even skip?
Honestly, I don't think you would gain anything from a theater experience. So I would say you could wait for streaming for this one.
Yeah.
But definitely watch it
Yeah.
because I liked it.
I'm with you. I'm in the same boat, Mr. Rome. I would recommend watching this one, but I also, again, because it's not horror, Omar, I think you articulated really well, is that the marketing make it seem like, oh, come watch it.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's more of, again, you're just seeing a real family kind of deal with different situations. So again, I feel like it's definitely something that I would want people to check out. It's only an hour and 20 minutes. Super easy watch. Whenever you have like a break in the weekend to watch something. But I would say that this is not something that you have to run to the theaters and go watch. You can wait for streaming, but it's definitely when it's available on any streaming service, check it out.
Yeah.
I would also set the expectations. I wouldn't say this is not horror at all.
Yeah.
So don't come in thinking that this ghost is terrorizing the family, because it is the complete opposite.
There's not even anything scary in the movie.
Yeah.
There's like 10 scenes that make you nervous.
Yes.
But nothing actually like scary.
Yep. Well, guys, those are our non-spoiler thoughts. Hopefully that kind of helps you guys decide whether you would want to check this out or if you'd rather just kind of skip it or, like we mentioned, wait for streaming. It's a definite recommend from both Omar and I. But again, those are just some non-spoiler thoughts. Let's get into the good stuff, Mr. Rome. Let's go into our pros and
Finally.
cons. You already had one pro that you were about to spoil.
I was.
So, guys, spoiler warning. If you have not seen The Presence, jump out of the video. Come back in after you've seen it so that you can hear Omar and I's favorite things or things that we didn't like. That way we can discuss a little bit more in the comments and interact. All right, hopefully that's enough time. Mr. Rome, without further ado, first pro of Presence.
Well, what I was going to say like a few minutes earlier.
Yep.
My pro is that I don't really know how to say it because it's not
Yeah.
just one thing. It's like the fact that they made the point of view from a ghost, that's the pro.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, like let's say like when we watch movies, we all suspend our disbelief, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know there's a camera, we know they're actors, and so we all just pretend like this is real.
Yep.
What we're watching is real. But then there's movies that kind of blend that line.
Mm-hmm.
So like found footage, that gives you a reason as to why there's a camera and why we can see what we're seeing. And so my pro is, I don't know if it is, but this is the first time I've ever seen perspective of a ghost, because the camera is kind of a ghost
Mm-hmm.
in every movie.
Yep.
It's there and nobody can really see it. And so like my pro is the creativity of that, you know?
Yep.
Like we see what the ghost sees, but they don't see the ghost. And so that gives us access to like their intimate moments,
Mm-hmm.
deep conversations, stuff we're not supposed to see.
Mm-hmm.
And that works as the camera. And so like that probably is like my biggest pro. That's like almost revolutionary, don't you think?
It is. That's why when I started off with saying that I like this movie so much that I wish more movies would think of other ways to tell a story or other ways to make the audience feel like you're a part of it without making it feel weird. Like, so I agree. I think it is something that is so unique that I just wish that, like, how come we haven't thought of that before?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that, Mister. That's a great pro. It kind of lines up with one of my pros, which is the cinematography or the camera work. Like the way that it would feel like it was a one take, because again, you're just a ghost going from room to room, and you know it would be broken up. Like every time, like a day would pass or weeks would pass, you would just see like a fade to black, and then it would come back, and again you'd still be the perspective of a ghost. But what I enjoyed most is that like the way that the camera would go from like upstairs to downstairs, and it felt like a play. I think you had told me, Omar, when we watched Here, which is another movie that, again, outside the box, keeping the camera in one location, and you just have people walking in and out of the room, different eras. That was a creative idea. That's more of what I want. Granted, Here wasn't on my top 10 list. You know, it wasn't an honorable mention, but I think the idea is what I think I would want more directors and producers to kind of think about, of like, what's a different way that, like, we've already seen this story before, we've already told it, but how can we describe it to the audience in a different way? And I feel like that's what Present succeeded with.
Yeah.
And that's, again, the camera work, the cinematography of how they were able to move, make the actors feel like they're in a play. And like Omar described, in every movie, the camera is a ghost. Like everybody in the audience knows that there's a camera there and we're seeing it, but the actors don't. They pretend like looking past us. Right. Here's the exact same thing, but it's actually,
it's part of the story.
Like exactly. Part of like what makes the film just stand out from other things like that. So I loved it. And again, another thing is it also felt like a lot of the different, you know, perspectives of the ghost, it makes it feel like it's one take, like one long take that you're kind of seeing. And again, just adds so much more to like the performances of the actors. Cause again, it just looks like they're in a play going through their parts. Some people walk out of the room, some people come back in, and like, it just feels so cool. And again, I don't think, and me and Omar haven't seen every movie in history, but this feels like is one of the most different types of ways of how they've been able to kind of use the camera to tell a story in a different type of a light. Mr. Orm, if I can tell you one, and then I'll kind of pass it back over to you. My pro for Presence was, apart from camera work, is the score. I wanted to shout out Zach Ryan, who developed the score. And this is, again, one of the reasons why I don't think this film is horror, is the music is so sad. I felt sorrow, sadness, loneliness, and it's all like a piano. Dun, 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 and I'm pretty sure those are none of the notes or keys that were played.
That kind of sounded like Jeopardy.
Yeah. Maybe it was. Maybe that's what I was thinking about. But when they're waiting for the final Jeopardy, huh? No, but I felt like the music that was composed by Zach Ryan, I think it added so much more to those very intense scenes between the family members. You know, especially when the ghost is going through and it's like figuring out like what's happening to Chloe and all this stuff. The music just adds so much to it. Then sometimes they add like a violin or a cello or whatever it might be. But the music, I think, was something that I really enjoy when I can pick up on it in the middle of a movie, because I can feel it like either making me more emotional or making more, like Omar described, more intense because of like what's happening between two characters. Just something about it. It just really worked. And I think it also adds to, as you start getting to know more and more of the story, you then start to kind of see like how the music kind of lifts a little bit more until you finally realize like who this ghost is in some way. Like, so I really enjoyed how they played off that music of, again, not making it feel scary or anything of that nature. It's more making you feel like exactly what the family's feeling. Like when the There's a scene, Omar, where the dad is outside and he's calling like somebody that he knows that is like a lawyer and is like, hey, what would happen if my wife got caught in something? Like, what would happen to the spouse? And you could see like his, like, he was so scared like that. And he's like, he can't believe he's even thinking about that. And the music kind of just comes in like that as he's outside, like crying and getting tearful. Like it's really well done. I love when music can actually make me think about like different types of elements of emotions that I'm going through as I'm watching it.
Yeah. The music was hauntingly beautiful.
Yes. Well said.
Where's that from?
Yeah.
That's a reference to something.
Oh man, hauntingly beautiful.
Came out on the show. Sitcom.
Is it Seinfeld?
No, it's How I Met Your Mother.
Damn it.
But I feel like that's a good explanation, right?
Yeah. I mean, I spent like 5 minutes just rambling on that, and you just did it in 2 words.
I thought of that reference like 2 seconds into your, a few seconds into your explanation.
Into my
like,
monologue.
Oh, this is a good summary. I'm gonna cap it off with this.
That was a good one. It's a good strategy.
Dude, yeah, the music was really good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Mr. Rome, what other pros do you have, if any, of presence?
Something I really liked was the lighting.
Oh,
especially because, again, this is supposed to be like a real house, and in movies they use fake rooms with open roofs so that you could have lights on top.
Yep.
Coming from above, or lights from the side, whatever. But here it's like we're in a real house. We don't see any of that extra movie stuff. It's like a real house, but the rooms were lit perfectly.
Yep.
How do they do that?
That's actually a really good call out.
Like Chloe's room was always warm. It was always bright. It was orange. It had a lot of colors. But then there were other rooms that were really dark. They're only lit up by like a lamp.
Like Tyler's room. Tyler's room was only lit up by like one source of light.
Or the parents' room. Yeah, the lighting was perfect considering we couldn't see like there's no room for them like, to use movie magic.
Yep.
It had to be like the actual light source.
Yeah.
And everything looked really good.
Dude, that's a great call out, dude. I didn't even pick up on that. Like of Chloe's room being the brightest one. Like every time it would be like a day scene. It usually would be her room that would have all the natural light. And then everybody else's room was like always in the night. Like whether they were in the kitchen by themselves or whether they were like in their own rooms. That's a great pro. Mr. Rome, only other pro that I have apart from the camera work and the music is I actually really enjoyed the subversion of who the ghost was.
Oh, yeah.
Like, to me,
this is like, I got kind of like Sixth Sense plot twist vibes out of that.
Yeah.
Did you?
It's because, so it worried me because I think in the first act, they immediately like insinuate that the ghost is the friend of Chloe who died, who passed away. They say in the beginning of the movie that she passed away in her sleep. And then people started accusing that she used drugs and whatever it might be. When the movie did that and started like pointing to like, oh, this ghost is Chloe's best friend. In my mind, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense why this ghost would be here. But it also kind of almost kind of let me down a little bit because I wanted it to be a mystery. I wanted to figure out like, well, what is this presence doing here? Like, what is their purpose? And then it picked back up when there was that medium, that lady that came into the house and started saying, well, I don't know who this person is, but they're lost. And they are trying to find something. And they might be mixed up between present and future times. And when they started saying that, that's when it started like clicking into my head of like, maybe this isn't not it like that. Maybe they're like subverting my expectation as to who it is until we find out who the real ghost is, which again, spoiler warning for anybody that hasn't seen it, but the true ghost is Tyler, who is Chloe's brother. He's alive for most of the movie until you actually realize that he not sacrifices, but saves his sister by pushing out this character named Ryan, who is the antagonist, out of a window. They both die. And the ghost, again, we don't understand ghosts. Ghosts, we don't know. I don't think they're real. I don't know if Omar, maybe you think they're real or not, but...
You know what? I forgot to bring that up.
Bring it up right now.
Or like, I was going to say, if you're a believer or a skeptic.
Oh, yeah.
Are you
skeptic.
Like Lucy Liu, or are you like...
I'm Lucy Liu.
Chloe?
Yeah, I'm Lucy Liu, I think.
Oh, okay.
But I feel like I could be converted if I saw something crazy like that, you know?
So like if Sophie died and you see her?
Yeah, and if I saw her, then believer. What about you, Mr. Rome? Skeptic or believer?
I think I'm more like the dad, you know?
Oh.
I don't see the ghosts, but if somebody says they do...
But you accept it.
Yeah, I might be like, yeah, maybe they do see it.
So that Omar, that pro of mine is I think why I enjoyed the movie even more is that they got me. They subverted what I thought was going to be the setup of like, okay, it's just her friend. The ghost is going to save the day. And instead it's now like, it's the brother. And then I really enjoyed that once you find out that it is the brother, it makes sense at the beginning why you start off by looking outside the window. Like, I don't know if you remember at the beginning of the movie, the first shot is the ghost looking outside the window of where he fell, of where he died.
I didn't even think about that.
And I was like, so it came full circle. I was like, oh, like, because that was one of the thoughts that I had when I was watching the movie. Is like, why do you start in this bedroom? Like, why do you start at this window? Like,
right. If that wasn't his room.
Exactly. And it's like, so, like, what's the point? Like, why is this ghost already in the house? And then once I find out that it is Tyler, the first shot of the entire movie is just him looking outside that window of the exact spot where he died. And I was like, whoa, that's genius like that. Like that makes it where if you do rewatch it now, you kind of understand like, oh, okay, all these different implications as to why it's Tyler like that. And I don't know, so that really, really nailed it for me, I think, of why I enjoyed it.
And then also, if I could add to your pro,
please,
it ties up so much in the movie. Like there's so many things that once you know it's Tyler, it's like you go back to certain scenes, you're like, oh, that's good. Like, and maybe if I could point out a few, Lucy Liu, she doesn't believe in ghosts at all. When the medium comes, they say, oh, certain people can see ghosts if they have experienced trauma in their life, because that breaks open that bridge between like that dimension and this one. And Lucy Liu loved her son so much, more than Chloe. That was her favorite child. And it was explicit like that, yeah. And so when that person in her life finally dies, that's when she finally is able to cross that bridge. And that was cool. And then there was another scene where it's like, you know, Tyler and Chloe kind of they butt heads a lot, and the dad's like, oh, damn it, Tyler, when are you ever gonna have your sisters back? And that's like the climax of the movie. He's defending his sister. And that's what he's been doing the whole movie, actually. Yeah. As the ghost. He's been defending Chloe the whole time. And those are things that you could catch after the reveal or upon multiple viewings. So that was a good pro. Yeah, dude. You called out the ones that I wanted to call out. Is that? Oh man, my bad. No. This is great, dude. Because it just makes me think that we're thinking of and like how they were able to kind of pay off a lot of things. If you notice in the movie, Tyler isn't a focus. Like he's mentioned of like he's the one child that like is good at swimming like that. He does all this stuff, but they make him look like a jerk, which again is genius, because if you want him to be the ghost at the end, why would you focus on him the whole time? You don't want to. You want to subvert everybody's expectations. So when it is revealed, you're like, it was him the whole time. He was the ghost. And then like you mentioned, there's that one scene where not only does he tell him like stand up for your sister. Remember that one scene where he's in the living room and like Tyler's telling him like, oh, well, Chloe's she's on drugs like that. And he goes, I know that there's a great man inside of you. I know that there is. It's like, man, that's going to hit harder when you rewatch it again, because you know that the ghost is watching that conversation. And I'm like, I have to do something like that. And that's, you know, when the moment comes, the ghost knows what to do like that to hopefully save Chloe in some way. Let me ask you something. Tell me. Do you think that I'm kind of under the belief or the assumption that the ghost doesn't know who they are? Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm in agreement. Yeah. Because the way you're talking, it kind of sounded like you thought that the ghost knew he was Tyler. Oh, no. I feel like it doesn't know, like we mentioned, like when the medium comes, the medium is lost, and like they were lost, but they knew that they had a purpose. They knew they had something, and I feel like they had that connection with Chloe because I guess they were just experiencing everything that Chloe is going through, and so I feel like they already had a connection, and Chloe's the only one that could feel the presence. The ghost felt like they had to do something to make sure that everything was going okay with her. So, but yeah, maybe I kind of articulated like if he already knew that he was a ghost, but in reality he didn't until the moment where he probably looks himself in the mirror or like at whatever point in the third act. So that was my pro. Again, I really enjoyed the subversion, but I also liked how they played off Tyler and they made him look again completely like a character that you didn't even care about. All you cared about was Chloe, maybe like the dad, and you like the mom. Like, why was she always so loving to Tyler and not Chloe? And they just completely put him in the background. Smart move. Yeah. Mr. Rome, any other pros on your side? That was my last pro. I have one more. Tell me. The antagonist, Ryan? Yes. This guy is a high school kid. Yes. Nothing grand. He doesn't have any crazy motives. Yeah. Or he does have crazy motives. He doesn't have anything. Let's think of movie villains. Yes. They're always like almost larger than life. Mm-hmm. But this guy's very like ordinary. Yeah. Yet he's one of the most despicable villains I've ever seen in a while. Yeah. Right? Hated that guy. Yeah. I was like, dude, I want to kill this guy.
Yeah.
The pro is the him. Yeah.
Yeah.
How you make like a high school kid that despicable
Yeah.
of a villain? It's not like this is like an action movie or a superhero movie.
Yeah.
So they made a good villain, you know?
And that's, I think that's a good call out. I think it's so tricky to balance that, right? Like, how do you make, like, a kid can already, like, when you have a high school kid, the way that they dress, the way that they look, you can already kind of have that, like, side of it where you immediately kind of feel like, this guy is like, who does he think he is like that? He's like he thinks he's like all good, like all bad like that. Like he knows all the answers. So he already has the look, I think, down. But like you mentioned, Mr. Rome, as you start to get to know more of Ryan and the things that he starts doing and then eventually confesses to, you're like, man, like this guy, like.
And he gives like, dude, I swear, he gives like vibes of like this unstoppable force.
Yeah.
Like if he's Thanos or something. It's like, you're like, who can stop this guy? Like, please, somebody. Like, you're begging for the ghost to do something.
Yeah.
Like, dude, well constructed.
And that, to me, I think is what makes a great villain, right? When either rooting
like
for the villain in some stories,
Yeah.
like, you know, like, again, I know that it's wrong to root for the antagonist, but there's some cases where
when they have motivations that are good, but their execution is
Exactly.
evil.
Exactly. Or in some cases like The Dark Knight, where the Joker has like really intent that was always evil, but you want to see him like where's the line, like because seems like he can go through Batman, like in the Dark Knight example, right? But in this example is the same thing, like where is Ryan's limit like that, like what? And then you find out what he had done to two previous girls, and you're like, this guy like that, and he's been like with Chloe the whole time. You're like, oh man, that's what makes, like, to me, like either you really love the story of the villain, or you make him so dislikable and so much like you make the audience hate this guy just by the way he looks. I'm like, so they succeeded on that front. Yeah, good call out, man.
Can we get to the cons now?
Let's do it, man.
Because my con is directly related to Ryan.
Oh, really? Start off, man.
It was just a scene. This is my only con. The scene.
I only had a couple nitpicks too.
This is a nitpick.
Can I rephrase that? I only had one nitpick.
Okay, so you don't have a couple. You only have
I don't know
one.
why I said couple. It's just in my vocabulary to say couple.
Because before you said couple was between like two and something else, and now it's one.
They don't have to know the math, man.
Okay. So the last scene when Ryan has Chloe, and I guess spoiler warning.
Yep.
He's about to murder her.
Yep.
We've seen the ghost already do some crazy stuff, like knock down a whole knock down a whole shelf of things in the closet, shake a whole bed frame. Hey, ghost, what are you doing? You know, this is like the worst thing he's doing. He's done to Chloe. Do something. That's it. That's my only nitpick.
That's actually a good point. I didn't think about that. Like when Chloe's gonna drink the first drink that has something in it,
the ghost
stops it by moving the table and having the drink fall.
And then the ghost doesn't do that the second time.
No.
And so, like, in my mind, I thought the climax was gonna be like the ghost is gonna get so powerful, it's gonna turn Super Saiyan.
Yeah.
And it's gonna like shake the whole room and scare Ryan away. And so I still enjoy the payoff of what the ghost did eventually.
Yes.
But in my mind, I was like, they already established what the ghost can do. So then don't show me something where it's like
where it can't all of a sudden do something.
All of a sudden it can't do it.
All of a sudden it can't interact.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I didn't pick that one up, and that seems to be like maybe like a kind of like a logical step that maybe they didn't consider. Like I don't know why, like, because that makes sense to me. If you showed that you can pull something that it's like nailed to a closet, or you can move a table like that, or destroy Tyler's room, like
yeah.
Like,
that was crazy.
You're doing all this stuff, but then all of a sudden, the moment that they're alone, nobody's there to help, nothing shakes, nothing moves. All he does is basically go and wake up Tyler, I guess. And that's the only ability that they have.
Which the payoff was still good.
It was.
But
yeah, that makes sense. I can see that as a nitpick.
It's a nitpick.
My only nitpick was that I couldn't understand Ryan sometimes. Like, and that's that's more. I feel like it was more of a me thing. Like,
no, I couldn't understand it either.
But I've told you before in other movies where like sometimes I can't like pick up on the dialogue.
Yeah.
Which kind of upsets me because I feel like I pay attention like a lot in movies.
After you say this, I'm gonna tell you why I'm actually okay with that, like not understanding him.
Well, that was my only nitpick, is that there was certain scenes where he was. Do you remember when Chloe and Ryan got like high? They were taking drugs, and he started confessing, but I couldn't pick up on like what he was confessing about. I could only pick up like, oh, control. Like, I don't have control in my life. I don't have this. But there was more things that he was saying that I just could not understand. And again, that could just be a me thing, like that. And it happens to me in various movies. Sometimes I can again listen to things very clearly. Other times I'm just like, wait, what did that character say? And so that's my only nitpick. Again, it doesn't bring it down, but it only happened with Ryan.
No, look, the reason I think I'm okay with it is because I think it might have been intentional. When I was watching it, I couldn't understand them, but then I was like, wait, like they got high. I think he was just like rambling almost.
Oh.
Like he was almost like talking nonsense.
That's a
So I
good
thought it was
point.
kind of like you weren't supposed to understand him.
That's yeah.
And then you eventually hear the key words you're supposed to hear.
That makes
Like
sense.
control and stuff.
I was also thinking that maybe it's because the ghost, like, it wasn't meant for like the ghost to understand, maybe like that, like, or like just the ghost.
Yeah, like that too. Like the ghost is not supposed to be like a camera. The ghost is like a ghost.
It's just like somebody
So,
there,
like,
presence, a presence.
Ryan, like Ryan's not talking to the ghost.
Yeah.
He's talking kind of to himself.
Yeah.
So the ghost like can't hear. That's kind of what I thought. I thought it might have been intentional.
That's a good interpretation of it, like that, just to like make it again, just to only give you the key words, and everything else is like, again, in that moment they're high, they're just enjoying, like reflecting, and just not having the audience understand everything like
And it
that.
adds a little more realism.
Mm-hmm. Because there's various times where you're in a conversation and
You don't
you
understand,
understand
what
like
people are
that.
saying.
I feel like that happens to us all the time because
All
I
the time,
ramble
yeah.
all the time, you know?
Or sometimes I like talk under my breath.
Exactly. Love it. All right, Mr. Rome, those are all the cons that we have.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back to the positive, man. Let's go through some of our favorite performances, favorite moments, and favorite shots. Mr. Rome, I'll let you start. Who was your favorite performance in Presence?
I mean, I think it's obvious. Even going through the cast, there's not a lot of people.
There isn't.
That's kind of surprising, huh?
Yeah.
It's like a little bit of people.
Yeah. I mean, it's like,
Just the family,
Just-
and then like 3 extras.
yep.
So there's not a lot of options, so I'm going to choose Chloe.
Nice.
She gets the most screen time.
Love it. Kalina Liang is the actor. She did really good like that. I really enjoyed any time that she was interacting with her dad, or when she now is on like basically the point where everybody now believes that there actually is a presence, and now she feels like vindicated. She's like
Yeah.
she just starts having a lot more energy of like, finally you guys can see it.
And back to the realism. Like the way she acts with her dad is not the same way she acts with Ryan
Mm-hmm.
or like people her age.
Yeah.
And that's realistic, you know? Like kids, they kind of act different with their parents than with other like high schoolers.
Two sides
And
of
she,
every
and
coin.
she
of that.
and she portrayed that really good.
Yeah, I like that. Mr. Rome, my favorite performance is the dad, Chris Payne, who was played by Chris Sullivan. I don't know, something about when he was going through of like I mentioned before, the scene where he has to call and he's like, hey, I have a friend that like is dealing with a spouse, and what if
Yeah,
they get
yeah.
caught? Like that whole thing like that, and like how he was just trying to keep everything together. And like even when like Tyler's telling the story about the prank that he did, and he's just like on the side like, oh, I bet you did, huh?
He
I
was
like,
he was kind of like the general audience. He was like us.
yeah.
We're all annoyed at Ryan at Tyler's
Tyler.
story. Like we don't care.
Yeah. But how he was portraying that, like everything was well, and even to the point where he goes up to Chloe and says like, I believe you. I was like, I'm not a religious person, but like as I've gotten older, I feel like I'm starting to understand these different things. I don't have the answers, but I believe you. And I'm like, just fear these real emotional moments that go back to what you called out at the beginning of the podcast, which is it feels authentic. It feels like raw. Like, yeah, this is something that you would see between a father and a daughter, like a son and a mom. Like it just feels like realistic.
When that scene happened, when you had like a conversation with Chloe about that, I forgot that it was the point of view of a ghost.
Yeah.
I thought like I was just watching a scene in the movie.
Mm-hmm. And you were, but you were a ghost.
But yeah, this has a lot of layers.
Yes. Mr. Rome, another thing I wanted to call out for Chris Sullivan, who played the character Chris. That's so weird whenever an actor plays a character and they're the same name.
Oh.
So it's kind of trippy, but Chris.
I hope he doesn't get lost in his role.
Yeah.
You gotta think he is.
He is Chris. Payne. Oh man. There's the scene where remember when they find out that there is a ghost there, and then like you actually see him like explode at Tyler.
Yeah.
That's like the moment where he's like, whenever you're gonna stand up for your sister. That scene also, like, again, it just shows the range that he was able to pull off. Sometimes he looked like he was like crumbling because it's like all the pressure. Then he had to like really just kind of man up and like tell his son the truth of like, I know that there's a great man in there. So I don't know, everything about that performance was really cool. Favorite moment, Mr. Ohm, for Presence? Favorite moment or scene?
Well, you pointed out when they all find out that there is a ghost,
Mm-hmm.
and then the immediate next scene is they're on their porch in the backyard, and they're all kind of just talking.
Yep.
I love that because like I would have hated if they kept trying to play off that there's no ghost the whole movie. And
Yeah.
I like when they're all on board,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be ghosts or whatever thing. Like if it's zombies, if it's fucking vampires, whatever. I like when everybody's in agreement. All right, yeah, this is real. Now what do we do? And that scene was cool because then you got to see like interactions between the mom and the dad, or with Tyler and Chloe, or with Tyler and the dad. You kind of see all of their interactions in one place.
Yep.
And there's like a bunch of tension, but there's also like funny parts.
Mm-hmm.
Like the mom starts smoking out of nowhere. So that was my favorite scene.
Yeah.
What about you?
My favorite scene was when the medium comes over to the house. And the reason I love that scene so much is
But
because
you're a skeptic.
I am a skeptic.
Are you converted now?
No, I'm not converted
Oh,
yet.
all right.
But what I can at least appreciate is that the medium, when they look right into the camera,
Oh,
because they
yeah,
can
yeah.
see they can see the presence, but they don't know who it is. Which again, I really appreciated that they didn't just tell us who that was, because the presence, they knew that there was something there as soon as they opened the door. Whoa, there's something here, and it makes sense. The camera was right in front of the door. So that whole scene of the medium knowing that Tyler is there, you could probably see it in the mirror, the old mirror that they had in the living room. But I just really appreciated that scene because, again, you had, even though like you mentioned in your previous scene, the family's on board, but everybody's at different levels. The dad and Chloe, okay, there's something here. But you have the mom and Tyler who believe, but like, are we really having a medium come here and tell us like that? Like they could just be jipping us here. Like, so I don't know. That whole scene really worked like very well, but it also gave me like the exposition that I needed, which was, oh, it's not Nadia. It's somebody else. Like, who is this freaking ghost? And so I really like that scene.
You know what else I liked about that?
Mm.
When the medium kept looking at the camera, so at us, and then everybody started looking at the camera. Like first Chloe, and then the mom, and then everybody starts looking, and you're like, and you feel like you are the ghost. You're like, oh damn, everybody's looking at us.
Yeah.
You know?
And you're like, what did I do?
Should I go? Should I leave? What should I do? Yeah, that was cool.
Nice. Mr. O, favorite shot of Presence?
It was the scene right before the porch scene in
Yeah.
the backyard, where the ghost wrecks Tyler's room, and then they all run to the room, and then Chloe's in the foreground.
Yeah.
But all you see is like an orange light shining on there, and everything else is dark. It almost looks like a spotlight.
Yep.
I like that. That was my favorite shot because it looked very like cinematic.
That is also my favorite shot. High five. Same thing, just to piggyback off of what you said, Mr. Rome. That was also my favorite shot because of the family in the background. And you could just, again, see Chloe feel vindicated that she was right. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not crazy. I'm not on drugs that's making me hallucinate these things. Like, my family can now see that, like, everybody's in fear. Nobody wants to go through the door. And she's the only one with no hesitation, is right in the middle of the room, just looking like, and like proud of like, I knew it.
I did it.
And it's like that. So nice, dude. I'm glad that we had the
Nice.
favorite shot. Guys, those are all of the things that we enjoyed or didn't enjoy about Presence. Again, it's still a strong recommendation. Check it out. If it comes out on streaming, would definitely recommend you guys. It's only an hour and 20 minutes. Won't take up too much of your day. But now it's time to wrap up this podcast and talk about that one important question, Mr. Rome.
Oh man,
Not if you're a skeptic or not. Not if you're a believer.
no.
No, it's about,
What question?
is Presence timeless? Can you see yourself rewatching this movie over and over again, or adding it to a movie collection, or in your typical rotation of movies that you watch? Mr. Rome, you're the guest. Every 5 episodes you come here and you answer this question. Tell us your answer now, man. Is Presence a timeless movie?
This is actually super hard because I liked everything about it.
Mm-hmm.
But will I keep rewatching it over and over and over again? You know, I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
But you know what helps? You know what was the key factor?
Mm.
The runtime, hour and 20 minutes.
Yep.
That's pretty short, and you can get a lot out of it
Yeah.
in such a short time. It won't feel like a chore to rewatch it.
Yep.
I would say yes.
Nice, man.
How about you?
I have been the same way. I think I've been flip-flopping a lot. You know me. Everything has potential to be a timeless movie.
Wait, you've already done shows on 2025, right?
I have, yes.
Have you said potential to be timeless, or have you said yes or no?
I have said yes or no.
Okay. You should do like a New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
Every episode in 2025, you can't say potential to be timeless. You have
Well-
to say yes or no.
Oh, I've been doing that though.
Oh, and I know, but what I'm trying to say is keep it going.
Keep it going.
Don't,
Yeah.
Don't do it now.
I won't leave a movie with just potential, you know? Just like this movie. This movie again has potential, but I'm going to say that it's not timeless. Although I agree with you, Mr. Rome, and the more that we talked about it today, the more I feel like I might want to push it to being a timeless movie. I think the thing that keeps it from me being timeless is that it is a sad story, though. It is something that kind of like, I'm not going to make it sound like, oh, like it's going to take a toll on you when you watch it, but it is something that's like, oh man, you're seeing like this family being affected by death, and then eventually death happens at the end, and so like you're really witnessing a family. And I think, again, this goes to the realism of the entire movie and how you're just seeing an entire family kind of deal with this different type of like stress, tension, all this different stuff. So I don't know, to me, although I agree it's a very easy watch, an hour and 20 minutes, it is just a very sad story. And so I feel like I wouldn't want to watch sad stories that often. I would still recommend people to like kind of check it out just to kind of see like a different take on how, when somebody tells me like what's a unique movie that is different from anything else, this is like the first one that comes into my head, because it's like, it's so cool of how they were able to shoot it with that camera. So for me, Presence is not timeless as of today. Again, a sad story. I don't know if I would want to rewatch it, but I still recommend people check it out as well.
That's fair. That's the same thing I thought.
Yeah.
If it were longer, I would say not timeless, because it'd be like sad and long, you know.
Yeah, nice, dude. Well, we disagreed at least on one of those things. That
Right.
Other than that, we pretty much were the same on most of those accounts. But
Is that fine,
yeah, of course it's fine, man.
or do we have to disagree?
Nah, dude.
Like Stephen A. and
And Max Kellerman.
and anybody else who he's against.
Nah, dude. We just gotta be real, man.
Okay,
That's what we
okay.
gotta be. Well, guys, that's been episode number 110 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. Mr. Rome, thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you.
I can't wait for episode 115. I hope you had fun on today's episode.
I did, man. I'm ready for the next one.
Dude, I can't wait for episode 115. We have a lot of movies that are slated for 2025, a lot of MCU movies, superhero movies, movies that we're going to catch up to like 28 years later, Mission Impossible, so many different stuff. But
Mickey 17.
But we'll get there when we get there. Omar, I'm excited for you to come back. But thanks so much again for talking with me about Presence. This has been episode number 110 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. It has been Omar and Victor Vasquez. Make sure to check out next week's episode as we cover a new movie and we consider if it is timeless. All right, guys. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you guys later.